I'm here today with Stephan Beringer, CEO of Mirriad, the company whose AI-powered technology has created dynamic new advertising inventory for film and TV content. Welcome, Stephan.
Thank you, Alan. Good morning.
You joined Mirriad last year, new CEO with a new technology. Can you tell us about that technology and Mirriad?
Yeah, let me try to do this in very simple words. So basically, what we're able to do is to put advertising and products into already produced content. In other words, you just think of a movie that is running on television. We have the ability to place brands and advertising in there, right? And by doing so, we can actually reach audiences in a very, very intense moment as they're watching the content, right? And the technology that is doing that, it's basically two components. One is a computer vision and sort of rendering technology. And on top of that, there's a whole layer of machine learning and AI that identifies the best possibilities for the brands to place themselves into the content.
Okay. So you're unlocking advertising inventory, creating a new revenue source for producers.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And that is exactly, if I may say, that's exactly our vision, is that we want to be a new revenue source, a very important revenue source for whoever produces and distributes content. And so by providing an advertising solution that really sort of drives a great impact for the advertiser. And why does it do that? Because actually the viewers really enjoy seeing what we do.
Sure, okay. So on to the new revenue source and the producers. You signed a groundbreaking contract with Tencent in China. And I understand that while the deal is exclusive, it's not necessarily going to be the same formula with other companies going forward.
Yes, that's correct. So last year we signed a very, very important contract with Tencent Video in China. And you're right, the nature of the contract is different. We should not take this as the entire sort of the blueprint for everything that is to come. There's a reason why we cut the deal we did in China, which is succeeding in China, you need to have a very strong partner, and we have a fantastic partner with Tencent Video. We're very privileged and very proud that we have this partnership. It's a 2-year contract. It's an exclusive with a minimum guarantee, so there's really some very substantial things in the contract. Tencent is also a very progressive company, technologically speaking. So again, it's very good for us also as we're developing the platform forward, the algorithms, etc., that we are partnering with Tencent.
Okay. And also you have arrangements with France TV, Condé Nast, RTL?
Yeah, so since last year, I joined last year, and basically we have really opened up a whole array of new opportunities and on the what I would call the supply side, but that is really the content partnerships. And we're going very broad and very deep. So we're speaking with many of the streaming platforms, with many broadcasters, with publishers, etc. The influencer arena will come very soon. We are looking into music video and so forth. So this is a very broad spectrum of opportunity. We signed many new contracts last year already. New things are on the way, but I just cannot talk about them now.
I understand. So what would be the typical lead time for a Mirriad contract?
Yeah, so typical is, that's actually really difficult to answer.
How long is a piece of string?
Exactly. So at times things happen very quickly, and at times it just takes a little bit longer. But the thing that we all need to understand, this is not a trivial, a trivial thing to do. So a broadcaster needs to, or a partner needs to think about how do we embed the technology, how do we activate our sales teams, etc. So it takes a little time. There are a couple of stakeholders involved, and so there's, again, I'm trying to answer your question the best I can.
Yeah.
It takes a couple of months, to be very honest, and then it takes another time to really activate the assets, so get the sales teams on board, synchronize, create the demand, etc., until you're really up and running.
Okay, so presumably you have competitors in your space?
Question I hear very often, who are your competitors? My answer to that is that there are a couple of adjacent companies, but in truth, and we are protected by 19 patents, so that's another piece of very important information. I don't think anybody's doing it the way we do it, so we really work across linear, so analog or linear content and digital content. There's no other company doing it this way. Secondly, I think the quality we deliver, and let's not forget the history of the company is really grounded in Hollywood, I should say. You know, right? Our chief scientist won an Academy Award, right? He just won an Emmy a couple of weeks ago, still for the same technology. Let's not forget that. So we're talking about the best possible technology in terms of rendering something into an image, right? In a way that it really looks totally realistic. And I think there's no other company doing that at that level of quality. We have the layers of AI on top. So frankly, there's adjacent company. There's different ways to go on content or into content, but not really the way we do it, where we become a natural part of the scenery.
Okay. So on the subject of those 19 patents and the technology, you ran a technology showcase event the other week.
Yes.
And one analyst wrote afterwards that Mirriad technology is a no-brainer. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so the no-brainer, and there are a couple of statements along these lines now we're reading about ourselves in terms of that we represent a revenue opportunity for the content industry in a world where eventually the advertising break doesn't exist. So if you think about a subscription VOD model, there is no advertising. So think about how do you generate revenue beyond the subscription revenue. Well, eventually we are the no-brainer, right? And there's a lot of statements along those lines, but it's not just the SVOD scenario, it's also the AVOD scenario. In other words, where a VOD, a streaming service is, how can I say, funded also with some advertising, but even in that scenario, the advertising or the loads will have to be reduced because otherwise the viewers will just not accept that. So even in that case, we play a very substantial role in terms of generating revenue through inventory in content.
Okay. So on the subject of this technology and the constant evolution, does this technology require continuous development?
Yes, absolutely. So this is key. So in terms of the development, our intention, and that's what we're working on, is really sort of a plug-and-play solution. At the end of the day, call it inside, right? We want to be an invisible part of the ecosystem. We're just ingrained in the entire content ecosystem and the advertising ecosystem, and things just happen, right? And that requires a level of automation and integration that will evolve as all the platforms evolve as well. So we need to really integrate in the ecosystem. So that's the one part. The second part is literally just the AI capability, and here's a very important point to make, that for everybody, every stakeholder in this whole play, it's important that the viewing experience remains intact and very good and like excellent, and even becomes better. So working on that requires a constant evolution and refining of the algorithm. So therefore the technology never stands still.
Never stands still. Okay. So you have all these contracts in place. We know now about the lead times. What does cash generation look like to you currently as CEO?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that. I took over the company and last year, and basically we reset the strategy. We had to make many changes. We had to reset offices, change leadership. We have a new technology lead in the company, and at the same time we had to sort of reboot, if I may say, the revenue line. And so we are actually very, very happy that in a turnaround year, right, we managed to achieve a revenue that is a multiple of the previous year. So I regard that as a really good achievement, and we hit the numbers that we had said we would hit. So we are slightly above that target in 2019, which is great. So I'm very confident, especially given the basis that we've set out, what I said earlier, in terms of all these partnerships either in place or ramping up as we speak, right, that we will be facing a situation where revenue also will be just on a much more stable footing, etc. Let's not forget the minimum guarantee of 10 cents, which is also giving us a stability in terms of revenue. So I'm very, very positive in that sense.
Excellent. Well, Stephan, we're running short on time. So for investors looking at this clip and considering Mirriad, can you provide some key takeaway points?
Well, the key takeaway, I would say, is Mirriad is a fundamental technology solution, right, that goes into a market that has a substantial need for this solution, right? You can read it everywhere. You can read that the whole data game is becoming more and more difficult, right? Using cookies and so forth is eventually not anymore what you... Brand safety is another big issue for any brand, right? How do you control where your brand is placed, etc.? So here we come with a solution that really sort of goes very directly in front of the consumers, of the viewers, right? Who today are very tired at times of advertising. I'd like to say that eventually the skip ad button on the internet, right, is the most utilized button on the web. And eventually, you know, when you think about it and how many times in your life you've already clicked that one button that says skip ad, because you actually want to see the content and not the advertising that's keeping you off watching the content. So we tap exactly into this opportunity, right? And you could look at Mirriad as being one of these fundamental technologies that have the ability to change a game and that have the ability to drive a new paradigm in marketing.
Stephan Beringer, CEO of Mirriad, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you for watching. We hope you join us again next time.